The Edmonton Oilers right side blue line. This was really expanded upon in the most previous offseason. What do I mean? Previous offseason? No, I mean this offseason, my bad. Kinda forgot we're still in offseason mode, aren't we? But this offseason went into really expanding, not even really just the talent level, I would say, of the Oilers right side blue line, but just kind of putting a little bit more security there, I guess. You had the Tyson Barrie re-signing. He's going to be sticking around for a few more years, $4.5 million AAV. You added Cody, Ceci, and you got rid of Ethan Bear. The way things go right now, you have Barrie as a number 1, I guess. You have Ceci as a number 2, I guess, too. And you have a number 3 that is probably in one of the most interesting spots of all the 2018 NHL defenders from that class. Let's talk today about Evan Bouchard, a guy who I've been kind of paying my dues towards, mostly because of a few distinct and very particular aspects of his game. So, let's talk about Evan Bouchard today and how this year, 2021-2022, appears to be, potentially, the breakout party here for Bouchard. So, he was taken 10th overall by the Oilers in the 2018 NHL Entry Draft, and there was a little bit of a crowd back in that time frame that said, okay, maybe Bouchard actually could go a lot earlier in the draft. He was ranked 6th by ISS, 8th by Future Consideration, 7th by TSN and Bob McKenzie, and 7th by McKean's. There were a few weird picks in the 2018 first round, especially in the top 10, mostly Kotkaniemi at 3, Barrett Hayton at 5, that really shifted the market for the rest of the players involved. But either way, Evan Bouchard was taken as a big right-handed defenseman playing for the London Knights, who was an absolute point-producing and goal-scoring machine. He had 87 points in 67 games as the captain of the Knights, and he had such a good ability to slow the game down, where he would come into the zone, hold it off on the power play, top of the umbrella, just rip a shot, and it would go in almost every single time. My problems with Evan Bouchard back in the day had to do not necessarily with his skill set or his talent level, but mostly engagement. There were a lot of defensive situations where Bouchard just wouldn't really skate hard. He would just kind of slowly glide back into his own zone. He wouldn't really be the best defenseman amongst the top of that draft class, but when it comes to offensively capable defensemen, he was definitely in that boat with, of course, the Hugheses and the Boquists, because they were all really good top-of-the-line offensive defensemen as well in that time frame. I made my own videos talking about how I was concerned with Bouchard, and over the years, he has started to improve his work ethic, at least based off of what I've seen. Sure, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but his ability to smoothly get up to speed has been improved over the years. Not to say that it's perfect, but it's a lot better than where it was 3 years ago. Bouchard's been up and down with the Oilers and the Condors as well. He had 1 goal in the 7 games played he had in 2018-19, but when it comes to the way he has progressed recently, his 2019-20 saw him put up 36 points in 54 games played with the Bakersfield Condors, which was seen as a pretty good step in his development since he was, at the time, 19, turning 20 years old. He actually turned 20 before the season started. This year, though, playing for the Södra Italia and the Allsvenskan in Sweden, he was out there with 17 points in 23 games played against men as a top defenseman. And, look, it's a pro men's league. He was over there on loan, and he did pretty well. He went back over to Edmonton when the season came back, 14 games played, 5 points, and now, taking a look at 2021-2022, the bar is now set. You have Cody, Ceci in front of Bouchard, and Tyson Barrie there too. The plan for Evan Bouchard now is pretty simple. Let's go over the words of Dave Tippett himself. This is back from August 16th. The key guy for us this year is Evan Bouchard. He is ready to take another step. I think you'll see his game evolve through the year, where he starts taking a bigger role with us. We will most likely see, as the season goes on, Evan Bouchard maybe start out, let's say, on the 3rd pairing. He plays behind Ceci and behind Barrie. But as the games go on, as the year goes on, he'll get more power play time, he'll get more offensive starts, he'll get a little bit more points. Probably a lot more than 5 and 14 games played, assuming they start him on power play 2 right away. It's only going to be a matter of time before Evan Bouchard probably goes out there and takes over what would be a top 4 spot from Cody Ceci. Now, I'm going to be honest here, haven't really been the biggest Cody Ceci fan my entire hockey life. When he was with Ottawa and Toronto, Pittsburgh, didn't really care too much, but I saw the memes, I saw the highlights for sure. But if you're in a position where you have that security of a Barrie and a Ceci as a 1-2 on the right side, and a Bouchard who is budding, he's developing, he's getting stronger as the year goes on, having Ceci and Barrie as hurdles for Bouchard to overtake this year seems like a pretty good, secure plan in my opinion. Because if what Tippett is saying is right, and he is going to be the main guy, then you would expect for Bouchard to go out there and really start to take things into his own. He had been improving year over year in all the other hockey leagues he had played in ever since getting drafted. Now, sure, his points per game did significantly decrease with the London Knights in 2018-19 compared to where it was in his draft year, but you have to remember there was indeed a brand new defenseman on that squad that was really good and also happened to be a right side defender. And his name was Adam Boquist, so that definitely took away some of the distribution of point production since they played the same position. Either way, though, in the AHL, Bouchard has gotten better. He played really well in Sweden, too, and now he's back in Edmonton with 5 points in 14 games. Heck, even if you just want to do it like that, let's do 5 divided by 14, multiplied out by 82, assuming he has the same pace next year, exactly the same pace. He'd be on pace for 29 points, and that's really not bad for a guy who was drafted in 2018. He's 21 years old, turning 22, and still has a long NHL career in front of him. In fact, if everything goes right, and Evan Bouchard eventually overtakes maybe a top 4 position, maybe even top line minutes, who knows? Edmonton is kind of all over the place. You could really debate. If you have a Duncan Keith, Evan Bouchard kind of pairing over there, that would be super cool just to see the two-way compatibility of a Duncan Keith while also giving his own expertise offensively to a guy like Evan Bouchard. Sure, I'm kind of talking about Duncan Keith as if he's this old aging vet, which he is, who's capable two-way, but remember in his heyday, Duncan Keith was out there with some really good point production throughout the years. Sure, he's probably not going to do that this season with Edmonton, but giving that expertise, just being that mentor figure, could be a really interesting addition to that blue line, especially if Bouchard finds himself alongside of Keith sometime this season. The biggest one to beat out, though, is probably going to be Tyson Barrie. We're probably not going to see Evan Bouchard take on a number 1 defensive spot on this team as long as Barrie is here, if you want to say that you're even going to have a distinguished number 1 defenseman on the right side. Obviously, Darnell Nurse is there, he's your number 1 technically, but left side, right side, it's kind of different, isn't it? And besides, Tyson Barrie was out there as the top point-producing NHL defender last year, which kind of blows my mind because he got absolutely zero consideration for the Norris Trophy, which I guess is kind of fair because, come on, it's Tyson Barrie, but it still kind of befuddles me just the statistical records of never having a top point-producing defenseman in the NHL have zero Norris consideration for the past, what was it, like 40, 50 years? I don't know. There was somebody who posted a graphic on Twitter. It was something like that. Really interesting stuff over there with Barrie, but Bouchard probably not going to beat him out for a spot. Either way, he does have a good hurdle to jump over in Cody Ceci later this season. If he does hit his stride, Evan Bouchard comes out here and he plays his hockey. He plays the same way that he played against other competition for the London Knights when he was drafted. He could be a really solid, just shoot the puck towards the net, and it's going to go either in, because I got a really hard shot, or off the goalie and in front for a rebound, because no goalie is stopping and covering that puck that I'm shooting. He's got a really powerful shot. His smooth skating has developed over the years, and I've really liked his work ethic and how it's developed as well. He is still a big body. He's 6'3", 194. You definitely can't have enough size on a blue line. And if he's able to really hamper down on his defensive ability as well, you could have yourselves a really good package of all defensive traits if you're the Edmonton Oilers heading into this season. You kind of do need that stability on the back end, especially with the growing impatience amongst the fans, the media, etc. with this Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl thing, and how they haven't really been doing anything in the playoffs, despite the fact that the Century Mark and the Harts and the Art Rosses and all this stuff are won by these two guys every year, it seems like. So, Evan Bouchard might be that guy to come in and help. He's got himself 2 more years left on his entry-level contract because the contract when it was signed, it carried over. So he doesn't expire for a while. You've got yourself some time to develop him and really see what he's about. I mean, he had a 29-point pace last season in the limited sample size he had with the Oilers, so who knows what he does this year? Give him more minutes, give him kind of maybe a sheltered role where it's like, okay, we know you're an offensively capable guy, so we'll start you out in the offensive zone with limited minutes, and we'll see what you can do there when you're cycling it around and being that anchor. So talk to me in the comments if you're an Oilers fan. What do you think about Evan Bouchard and his entire development, how he has done so far, from the Knights to the Condors to the Allsvenskan and the Oilers too? Let me know in the comments, what do you think about the way he has gone? Do you like what you're seeing out of Evan Bouchard? I personally do. I made the videos talking about how I was concerned with his game back when he was drafted, and then I had to make the other videos following up saying that I was wrong about all that stuff. Talk to me in the comments, what do you think? I hope you enjoyed this British Ash Rolls 99. And bye.